David Fincher's new film Zodiac is based on real events, and here are the facts. Fact number 1. Zodiac is the most notorious serial killer in American history. Fact number 2. He taunted authorities with coded letters to the press. Fact number 3. His identity remains unknown to this day. Join us over the next half hour as David Fincher tells us how Zodiac hit very close to home.
He was the reason we went home early on Halloween for 7 years.
Mark Ruffalo admits to having first said no to his part.
The script didn't really tell me enough about the guy, so I passed.
And Jake Gyllenhaal goes on the charm offensive, finding time in his very busy schedule to talk his new role.
It's fine. I just have to go give an award to Jennifer Aniston. Don't worry about it. It's fine. She got me this role, so no problem. But anyway, no. Take your time. It's fine. She can wait.
Zodiac marks a return to the subject matter that inspired David Fincher's career-making Seven. But being a director who's built a reputation on rebellion and innovation, this time round, he's decided to focus on something else altogether. The group of men who devote their lives to hunting down the hunter.
I was trying to be true to a sense of what it must have been like to be part of this kind of an investigation.
There's no evidence, Robert. What do you mean there's no evidence? You have him seen with the ciphers, the military blueprints, the bloody knife. All circumstantial.
I was really interested in how good, caring, empathetic people became less of themselves, were less of all those qualities for the people nearest and dearest to them, and how they sold that out for somebody that they, in a lot of cases, never met.
When is it going to be finished? When you catch him? When you arrest him?
I need to know who he is. I need to stand there. I need to look him in the eye. And I need to know that it's him.
Is that more important than your family's safety?
Of course not.
Is it about Zodiac? No, it's about the Zodiac investigation. Maybe the movie should be called The Zodiac Investigation, but to make a movie about Zodiac and who he might have been, as he once wrote in his letters, I wonder when there's going to be a movie about me. I wonder who will play me. To feed that narcissism, I think, would be morally unconscionable.
I love the idea that this would be a movie that wasn't your kind of typical kind of cotton candy idea of what a serial killer is.
I'm not the Zodiac, and if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
David was veering away from what he did in Seven and what people would expect from him, particularly because of the same genre of movie.
Settle, action.
He sort of like created part of this genre. He added to it, brought something to it, changed it. It became the high bar of what filmmakers were trying to do to achieve it, and then he came in and just crashed it.
I thought I'd love to be a part of that, you know. I'd love to be a part of people coming into a movie expecting a certain thing that they'd already seen and being totally blown away and surprised by the fact that this director who had done this quintessential serial killer had now just mucked it all up and turned it up on its head.
And action.
I'm always up for a little rowdiness.
But it's surprising that the very movie that made Fincher's name nearly put him off making this one.
I swore I would never make a serial killer movie again, and I had a sort of standing pact with my agent, like, don't send me this stuff. And Josh called and he said, you know, I'm not supposed to send you this, and you've told me you don't want to, but you got to read this script. And I said, okay, what is it? And he said, it's called Zodiac. And I said, well, let me read it, because, you know, I identify with this for other reasons than just the material. I grew up in the Bay Area during the Zodiac reign of terror.
The Zodiac killer has come to San Francisco.
And, you know, when you're 7 years old and it becomes apparent to you for the first time, really, that there are people out there who hunt other people. It was a kind of life-altering in a way.
I like killing people because man is the most dangerous animal of all.
He was the reason we went home early on Halloween for 7 years, you know. He was that specter, he was that boogeyman.
I can give you a lift to the service station.
Do you always go around helping people in the night?
And when we moved away, I remember thinking to myself, whatever happened to Zodiac? Did they ever catch that guy?
Ask leading expert Robert Graysmith, and the answer is yes. The author of 2 books which serve as Fincher's source material, he's convinced he's solved America's most infamous cold case.
How does one do that?
I like puzzles, I do them a lot.
In the film, Graysmith is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, a role he clinched thanks to a certain one-time co-star.
Jennifer Aniston cast this movie because she was saying, oh my God, Jake, you love him, he's fantastic, and he's so charming, he's so great.
She can be one hell of an influence.
I had seen Jake in Donnie Darko, and I had seen Jake in The Good Girl. I liked that he could be part of something that was dark without having to play dark.
Fincher's belief in Jake was so firm that he refused to take on the Zodiac venture without him, a fact that still weighs heavily on the actor's mind.
Oh, it's so hard. So hard. I gotta tell you, I mean, the hardest thing is to be sought after. I mean, it is just, I'm telling you, I mean, one day when we have more time, I'm gonna go into it with you because, yeah, it's just tough. It's really tough. No, it's a nice story when you think about it now, because that's the way David is. David gets something in his mind, and that's what he wants. It's wonderful when you're the actor that he wants, and a lot of people may at the time not have a lot of faith in you, and he'll fight for you. And he wanted me. He wouldn't make the movie without me. It was essential. That is what you want from a filmmaker.
Starring alongside Jake is Mark Ruffalo, who plays legendary homicide detective Dave Toschi, a part he initially rejected.
I got to kind of fall in love with the part to want to do it, and I guess I didn't know enough, and the script didn't really tell me enough about the guy, so I passed. And Fincher, thank God, and this is atypical of most people on his scale, directors. He's like, hey man, listen, in about 3 weeks I'll have 2/3 of the movie rewritten. Would you be willing to take a look at it again then? And I read it and I was like, I'm in.
For Mark, the idea of playing a real-life cop brought about a heightened sense of duty, so he insisted on meeting Toschi in person.
You know, you're playing somebody whose life was like this. I mean, he had his family who he loved deeply, but then the other side of it was this case and his career.
Gentlemen. Dave.
Paul, where's his shirt?
Right there, boss.
There's your rag the kids talked about. So you got in the front seat to tear off a piece of the shirt.
Is this on the record?
What do you think?
I think as an actor, that's a pretty big responsibility. He said, why does a big Hollywood actor like you want to come and talk to some old murder cop like me? And I said, because I want to get it right.
That's it for part 1 of the show, but don't go anywhere, because coming up after the break, we get to grips with the Zodiac story. Plus, Jake Gyllenhaal feels the heavy price paid for taking on the elusive killer.
I am never going to make a movie about obsession again.
David Fincher wrestles with the conventional Hollywood payoff.
There's plenty of movies where the bad guy gets his. Do I have to do that?
And Mark Ruffalo relives the passion that fueled this project.
This movie's going to outlast all of us, and I'll sleep in a sleeping bag if I have to.